I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee. And yes, I drink iced drinks all year round, you guys, even when it's cold outside. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be sharing some hair tips and recommendations with you guys. We're gonna be talking about how to make your waves or your curls last longer to get the most amount of wear possible out of them, and then also how to get rid of itchy scalp if that is something that you struggle with. And I know these may seem like kind of random topics to put together in a video, but I feel like they kind of go hand in hand, because one of the big things to making your curls and waves last longer is to avoid having too much buildup on your scalp and making sure your hair is well clarified. And that is also something that can make your scalp really itchy if you have that issue. So I just thought I would kind of combine these tips into one video and just tell you guys some of the things that have really helped me in this area with my waves. Before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe down below if you have not already, and you can also come join me over on Instagram and Twitter if you would like to. They are linked in my description box, and let's just go ahead and get into some of these tips. So one of the big things that I want to start off with that I know can be confusing for a lot of you guys is protein balance. And this is something that I've really been kind of learning and perfecting in my hair for the last couple of months, especially just because it can be a little bit hard to understand if you've never heard people talk about things such as moisture or protein balance, because there's such a thing as having too much and not enough. With protein, I've noticed in my own hair, when I have too much protein, which is when I use too many products that have a lot of protein in them, like a protein mask or a styling product that has a lot of protein in it, when I'm using those too much, I tend to see that my hair starts feeling kind of dry and it starts getting really tangly and coarse, and that actually keeps my waves and curls from lasting a long time, because by the second or third day my hair is so ratty that it just looks crazy, and then my hair feels so tangly and it's frizzy and it just looks crazy, and so it doesn't last and stay nice for as long. Whereas if I don't have enough protein in my hair is kind of limp. It doesn't hold a curl really well at all. I don't really get defined waves, and then it also feels kind of like it's over moisturized. So I'll just have like limp waves and I won't really have a lot of volume or anything. And that's another thing too, you don't want to be over moisturizing your hair. I know it can be tempting if you have really dry hair, and especially if you have color treated hair, because your hair can get so damaged that you just feel like you need to moisturize it, which is great. You definitely want to have moisturized hair, but over moisturizing is just as bad as too much protein. And so a balance is definitely the way to go with both. I know it can be hard to figure out what is the right amount for your hair, and honestly, I think it just takes practice and experimenting. And I think if you haven't incorporated protein products into your routine, definitely you want to start doing that at least every couple weeks or a couple times a month, just because it really can help your hair to hold a curl better, to clump better. But if you're using it like every other wash or a couple times within a week, or even every single week, it might be just too much for your hair. Protein moisture balance is one of the big things in getting your curls and waves to last for a long time. Let's talk about something that has a little bit more to do with the itchy scalp issue. Now, obviously you don't want to have buildup on your scalp, because that's going to weigh down your hair and you're not going to have the defined curls that you want, and they're not going to last as long as you want. A big thing that has helped me so much is having a scalp brush. And I have the one that I use right here. This is from Amazon. Hopefully you guys can see how it looks. The bristles are like these silicone soft bristles. They're not hard on the scalp because, like I said, they're silicone, and it just feels amazing to have that like massaging, exfoliating almost feeling on your scalp. It really gets off any buildup and it feels amazing. It makes your hair feel so much more clean. And this has honestly changed my life. I don't really feel like I'm getting my hair clean without it. And the first couple times I used that in the shower, I used that for like 5 minutes straight because it felt so good on my scalp, because I really had an issue with a lot of itching due to buildup. And even though I would clarify, it just didn't feel like enough. I needed something to scrub my scalp. That was what did it for me. I'll have it linked down below. Honestly, since I started using that, my scalp pretty much never itches unless I go longer between washes. And then once I use that, it takes care of the issue like right away. So it's amazing how much that has changed my itchy scalp issues, because I would literally get like painful itching on the back of my head, and that has just pretty much completely eliminated it. Now, if you are wanting to get the most wear and length out of your curls or waves, one that's kind of more obvious is to use a Stronghold Gel or even a mousse after your creams. I think it's great to use creams in your hair if you have curly or wavy hair, because most of the time we have hair that's a little bit more on the dry side. Of course, everyone's hair isn't the same. It may not work for everybody, but I really like to use a leave-in and a light cream at least on my hair. And then if I really want my waves to last, I'm going to use a hard hold gel or a mousse that's going to keep my waves intact and staying in their shape for longer, for several days, however much wear I'm trying to get out of them. Now, you could use hairsprays. Obviously there's refreshing. I have a couple of refreshing videos up on my channel if you guys want to check them out. But if you want to avoid spending 20 minutes every day refreshing your hair, just using a really good Stronghold product, and obviously using what works best for you to sleep with it, because I know that it's different for everybody. I have a little bit shorter hair. It's past my shoulders now, so it's grown out some, but since I cut my hair short, I like to avoid pineapples. Honestly, I just feel like it stretches out the curls and takes away the definition when you have really short hair. Now, if you have really long hair and most of your definition is towards the bottom of your hair anyways, then using a pineapple can be a really great way to maintain and preserve your curls overnight. So basically what that is you just gather all of your hair on top of your head and you use a scrunchie to lightly secure it on the top of your head. It's basically just like a really high ponytail, and that just kind of keeps the curls on top of your head so that you're not sleeping directly on them. Now, like I said, if you do have short hair, you might want to try using like a silk cap or something like that. I personally tried a silk scarf and it didn't work super well for me because my hair kind of stayed in these certain positions that it was in when I put it on top of my head, and then I would have curls that were kind of sticking out different directions because I tied the silk scarf against my head like this, and it kind of pushed against my head. Now, I personally haven't used a silk cap, but I've heard great things, and I honestly think that would work a lot better for me than the silk scarf, just because it's so much looser and it's only tight right around like your hairline, so it's not going to push against your actual, like the lengths of your hair. So I definitely recommend trying that out because you can get them for super cheap on Amazon if you have shorter hair. If you don't sweat at all in your sleep and you do have shorter hair, what works for me is just leaving my hair down to sleep. Now, a lot of you might say, there's no way I can do that. That's crazy. Like, I would just pull out all my curls, and I totally get that. It's not going to work for everybody, but for me, like I said, I don't sweat in my sleep, and there is actually something about sleeping on my hair and just leaving it down that when I wake up the next day, my waves and curls are actually a little bit more bouncy and defined, and it's almost like having that hair dry out just a little bit because there's not the moisture from right after I wash it, and it just kind of makes my hair look really good, as long as the protein balance is in check, because if I have way too much protein in my hair and I sleep on it down, it just kind of gets like that ratty dry texture like I told you about earlier in the video. Now, there's also Medusa clipping for sleeping with your hair. If you guys want to try that out, I have a video of it on my channel and it did work for me, but it does take some time to do that before bed, and I honestly feel like my hair personally usually looks great the next day when I've slept on it down. Like I said, that is my personal experience, and if you do sweat in your sleep or your curls come out really easily when you lay on them, you might want to try either the silk cap or the Medusa clipping if you have shorter hair. If you have longer hair, you could try a pineapple. I feel like we sat on that topic for really long, but moving on, a few other things obviously that really help with both itchy scalp and keeping your hair intact for longer is clarifying. I mentioned this briefly in the beginning of the video. It's really important that you use a clarifying shampoo on your hair at least every month, maybe a couple times a month, just to remove any excess buildup. If you don't have one or you don't really know where to start, you could even just use a regular shampoo that has sulfates in it just to strip your hair a little bit more and get rid of any buildup. And that might be intimidating if you've never done it, but it will definitely cleanse your hair really well and you will notice a difference. It might be a little drier, but it's also going to be a lot less weighed down. Another thing that you can do to clarify is just using an apple cider vinegar rinse. So that might sound intense because apple cider vinegar is really strong. It smells really strong, but if you just get one of those little squirt bottles that like has a long tube thing on the end, where you can squeeze it onto your hair in the shower and do like a nice rinse. I've done that before, and it does sting just a little bit if you do have a sensitive or itchy scalp, but once you rinse that all out, your scalp just feels so much cleaner. And I don't think most people have an issue with it, but if you do find that it irritates your scalp at all, just using like a little bit of a carrier oil on your fingertips and massaging it onto your scalp could really help to soothe that area. I love argan oil, jojoba, almond oil, any carrier oil like that, just putting a little bit on your fingertips and massaging it onto your scalp. I always do that with the excess hair on my fingertips anyways. When I scrunch my crunch out on my wash day with an oil, I will take the excess and just massage it onto my scalp, or just use it to like shake out my roots, because I like to do that to make sure there's no hair sticking on my scalp or I don't have a cast on my scalp. So just using a few drops of carrier oil can be really soothing. If you've never done that before, I definitely recommend trying it out. Last thing that I want to mention before we go, try diffusing if you've never tried it. Now I know that a lot of you guys have probably diffused your hair a lot, but if you're someone that has never tried diffusing your hair and you always air dry it, especially if you have a lot of hair, try using a diffuser, because it can make your hair bounce up a little more and like get more spirally defined waves or curls, which means that then when you sleep on it and they do stretch out a little bit, it's still going to be more bouncy and kind of shrunk up than if you air dried. Like I said, might not work for everybody, but if you have really heavy hair or you don't have a lot of layers in your hair, like I said, this can really help to kind of force your hair to shrink up, because the diffuser is literally like a claw pushing your hair up to your scalp to kind of let it dry in that position. I did a video when I first tried diffusing, and it is on my wavy curly playlist, as well as all of my other videos that are related to curly and wavy hair. And I pretty much always have that linked up in the iCard in my videos. And I know that the little eye isn't up there anymore if you have updated your YouTube account, but there is another little button that you can click on, the settings button, I believe, and you scroll down and it'll say more from this person, and then you can click on that and it will bring up the cards that I have linked so that you guys can check out my wavy curly playlist and other videos that I've linked in the iCard. But you can also just go on my channel and go to playlists, and you will find my wavy curly playlist there. So that is going to be it from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that this video helped you out in some way. Maybe you got something new from it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
I know that you're coming back home.